Welcome into Kicking It. We are going to have one of our fastest intros because we have one of our longest interviews, but that was one of the most fun interviews. They're all fun. I shouldn't say it's like the most fun. They're all collectively very, very fun.
Went by quick.
But we have Alexander Robinson on. Oh, I should say this. We are brought to you by Kelderman Manufacturing, as always, kelderman.com. You've heard enough about them at this point between us and Williams and Bloom. And if you haven't checked out kelderman.com, that's on you. That's not on us. That's on you. Anyway, so Alexander Robinson, he was I feel like a lot of times it's the McCarney guys, like the Blythe, the Meyer to Blythe and those guys, and then kind of like the Campbell guys. And there's like the forgotten middle. A-Rob is a legend.
Yeah, he is
so good. I didn't even get to like a lot of the stuff I wanted to talk about as far as like the running back mechanics that he was so good at. But we talked to him for a while. So, like I said, short intro, long interview. This is Alexander Robinson. All right, now we're going to welcome in one of the people that allowed me to be able to flourish because he was too goddamn good. So little backstory for that intro. When I was playing, I was a walk-on, and I never got enough reps because there was some player that was he'd take all the carries. And there was somebody at the top of the roster that would take all the carries. And then eventually they realized, you know what, maybe this guy doesn't need to do bowl practice because we know how good he is. And that allowed everybody else, myself included, to start getting reps. So I have A-Rob to thank for being able to get reps because he was so damn good that they didn't need to practice in the bowl prep. And with that, we're going to bring in Alexander Robinson. So Minnesota's finest. Welcome to the show, A-Rob.
I appreciate you guys having me. I appreciate you guys having me on. I don't know if that intro was accurate, though.
No, it's true. It's 100% true.
You did not practice at all during the bowl season. I can attest to that.
You got like 700 carries every year, and you're like $145.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think I ever weighed over like 185 during my playing career. So, I had to take some time.
Yeah, that was my heaviest playing weight, was 185. That's nuts.
I think the heaviest weight you've ever been is 185.
187.
Okay.
Give me those 2 pounds. So.
It was legit. When I was in there was not a ton of role models to look up to in the running back room when I got there. You were one of them. And so I got to learn how to play smart from you, but then also got to learn that it's if you succeed well enough and you treat people well, then you're going to get treated well back in return. Also, if you just happen to, get 75 carries a game, you just get banged up, then you actually get someone else to take a couple snaps in bowl prep.
Yeah.
One fun thing, because I think we've had guests on, we've had AJ, we've had Charlie, we've had a bunch of guys on.
Man of Steel.
You were in like a unique period in Iowa State football. You're a 3 head coach guy, right?
Yeah.
Just broadly speaking, can you compare and contrast the 3 coaches that you had? Because your first 2 years were with McCarney, right? Or first 1 year was McCarney, 2 with Chiswick, and then 2 with Rhodes.
Yep. The easiest way I can explain it to people is McCarney was a player's coach. Very, very personal. He knew your families, what high school you came from. He would ask about your families, those type of things. Chiswick was very business oriented. It wasn't a whole lot of fluff and how you doing, family, like, hey, this is what we need. Are you going to do this? Oh, you're not? Okay.
Right, Grant?
Talk to the next guy. He was with Chiswick. And then you get McCarney.
But then Chiswick staff was the one that offered me, and he was never mind. Sorry, continue.
Chiswick was very X and O's, though. He knew his X and O's is very well. Like he could speak the game from whatever standpoint you wanted him to. Rhodes was a mix of both. So very, very personable in a sense where he got to sit down with his players and talk to his players and get to know them. But he also knew his X's and O's. So he would dabble into kind of a bit of both worlds. But the drastic differences between them. 3 different strength coaches. I will say you guys, Woody in particular, really benefited from having McKnight.
Yancey. Yeah.
Having Yancey the entirety of your career, if I'm not mistaken, to have that continuity through that. So when I first got in, we had a guy who's military style. We couldn't bang dumbbells. There was no dropping very, very fine tuned, have your shirt tucked in, to the T. It was military programming almost. Then we went the complete opposite way with Shep, where Like we didn't know what we were having when we came in. He would write workouts on the board when we were warming up.
You guys want that graffiti in your face? You don't. Coach, I think you mean confetti.
I remember one day we were doing like a circuit workout, and I don't know if he had said like how many rounds we were going to do or what, but he was like, all right, another round. And or he said something, and somebody was like, whoa. And then he was, who the fuck said whoa? so very, but then but his focus was really like getting you stronger, like lifting heavy weights, that type of thing, right? It wasn't so much on the form and things. And you have Yancey that came in that was very like Olympic style lifting. There's a program for everything. It's tailored to each player. And like you would grow through that. And it was just drastically different, man. Three different head coaches is insane for a college career. You got to think most times you're only there, what, 4.5 years, maybe 5. To have 3 different head coaches through that span is insane.
Can I ask, just because I don't think I've asked you guys this. So I wasn't around. So I was recruited by the Chiswick staff, but I wouldn't have committed to them just because I didn't really vibe with the coaches all that well. But then when Rhodes got there, I committed to Rhodes like 3 weeks after he got there. So I started with Rhodes. What was it like being on the team when the firmly entrenched 2 weeks later coach leaves? Like, what was that like from, like, did you guys know that Chiswick was gone before it happened? Or was it sort of like, oh shit, our coach is out of here?
I think Jamie Pollard texted us.
I found out via Sports Center. I remember this vividly. I was in the UDCC and it came out.
Great Wings.
Who? Oh, Great Wings. Yeah. From the UDCC. Is that even still around?
Aiden? You're the one that's most recently in college.
Alive and strong.
Alive and strong. Okay.
For our 22-year-old.
So I was there and we saw it come across like the sports ticker. And then it was like Gene Chizik agrees to whatever with Auburn. It's like, wait, what? Like, he's our coach. Like, how did he go to Auburn? Like, that's not right. And then all of a sudden I think, to Gmo's point, like our phones just started blowing up. Like, bing, team meeting Sunday. Like, wait, what? Like, what do you mean? Like, it's too late now. We already know. So yeah, it was, I don't know, man. You just realize that's a business at that point, right? Like coaches, which is why I'm glad the NCAA kind of transitioned to this kind of player empowerment, letting people transfer without having to sit out. Because it was like you could get recruited by one staff, they leave, and you're stuck as a player. At least when we were playing, like you couldn't go or you would have to sit out. So it's like, oh man, what do I do? Like I just got to stay. Like I don't have a choice.
Yeah.
Figure out what to bring in next.
To your point, I think I might have been in a similar situation where I saw it on sports. And I was like, wait a second. Then I get a text from a number I don't have. Tell me team meeting. I was like, who is this? This is Jamie Pollard. Oh, hey, Jamie. This text is legit. What I'm seeing across the bottom line is legit. Who was the strength coach you first got here? What was his name?
Oh, I don't remember his first name. His last name was Getty.
Getty, yeah. So I had heard Getty was very much like his thing was like, you want to eat meat that like the least number of legs it has is better for you. So he's like, cows are okay, chickens are okay. You want fish. Someone's got no legs, you want fish.
That sounds like some Getty stuff, man. It was very like militarized, right? Not that was a bad thing, but it was like very, very organized, detailed, and like don't deviate, don't drop a sweat on my mat. Like it was very. I remember. So you got paired with like an older person, right? And so I got paired with Todd Blythe my first workout there, and so we're on the dumbbell bench press. And he knocks out his set. He like lays him down. I'm like, what's wrong with this guy? So I grab him. Ding, ding. He's like, no, don't do that. I'm like, ding. And he's sitting in out the corner of the weight room. We hear, who's dinging the dumbbells? And me not knowing any better, I'm like, oh, that was me, coach. Over here on the mat. Todd's like, damn, man. So we had to do like 10 up downs and then go back. Oh man, I learned my lesson, but it was like very. Yeah, it was like, who doesn't ding like you in the gym? You're dinging dumbbells.
You thought he was asking as like a congratulatory. Who's a strong man? No,
that was me.
That's me.
Oh man! Todd's like getting ready to stick his hand in between, so I don't ding him. Like no. Yeah, man. It was it's different though. Like Getty was he had some other guys with him too. Ruth was one of the names. But it was just different, man. I don't know what to tell you guys. It was different. We had this, you guys know those like big air bikes, the wind bikes, whatever. Mm-hmm. So we had to do that as a warm-up. I can't remember if it was 5 minutes or 3 minutes, but you had to be over like a certain level for that time period. And I just remember one of like the freshmen that came in and you're pedaling and the coach is like walking around making sure everybody stays above. And there was this one guy named Kellen. I can't remember his last name. I want to say what happened previously the night before, but he was like pedaling on the bike, right? And all we heard was Kellen 3.8, Kellen 3.4, Kellen 2.7. Start over. like, and those 3 minutes were long because you had to get through that, and then your entire work. Oh man, it was brutal.
There was just not necessarily the same thing, but like with Yancey, we had to do our developmental stuff with Yancey and CO, and CO led the developmental stuff, and Yancey was there as like a supporting. Like they were both kind of co-heads, but in the main weight rooms, Yancey got to lead, and kind of the developmental weight room, CO got to lead. And one of the things that, and I will always shout out James White for this, always, because he was he's a real teammate in this moment. So in the developmental season, so it was 2009, and I was redshirting in 2009. And so if anybody who was redshirting, you would be kind of in a different category, because during the season, if you're in like you hit a 12 by or 5 by 12 heavy ass back squats and your legs are too sore to practice, who cares? You're on practice squad. Like they're trying to gain mass, gain strength. So during the in-season stuff, you guys that are playing are more tapered down, trying to make sure that you can still be fresh for Saturday. They didn't care about us doing that, nor should they. So we're in developmental lifts, which are always, 6 a.m. in the morning, something like that, 5:30, 6 a.m. And if somebody was late to that, and if it's like 6 a.m., it's 5:59 seconds, 6 o'clock, anything that or later, late. And if you were late, then the entire group had to do 10 up downs, or for those that are more familiar with the term, burpees, same thing, had to do 10 burpees, but it wasn't just 10. Let's say that somebody was late in week 1, and let's say somebody else was late in week 2. It was then 20 burpees before the workout. And then in week 3, somebody else is late. It's now 30 before. You could imagine with a bunch of freshmen by the end of the season, there was 10 or 11 instances of this happening. Meanwhile, if the person just didn't show, then that person went and did like a punishment thing for like an hour and a half at like 5 a.m. on a Wednesday. James White, we see him like it's 6:02. And we see him through the glass at the old Olsen weight room. And he looks in and he's like, man, and like just turns around and goes back to the locker room. And I think Yancey and CO saw him too. And they were like, all right, good dude, let's hit the lift. And just like, it would have been 120 or something like that. And James is like, nah, I'll go to Wednesday. He's like, that's leadership right there. Hey, that is leadership.
You know what? That is real sacrifice there.
God bless James White.
The only time that I was ever late for a workout was when we had Shep. It was my freshman year, and Geyer and I were roommates. And I'm going with this era. Geyer and I were roommates, and so we get there, and Zach's like, "Man, I really gotta poop before the lift." And I was like, I'm gonna go in." And he's like, "No, man, like don't leave me. I was like, "Dude, I'm gonna go in." He's like, "No, I don't." So I was like, "Fine, I'll wait for you." So I wait for him. He finishes up. I let him go first into the weight room, and I'm like, right behind him. They let him go. Grant, you're late. I'm like, dude, come on. They make me put I don't know if it's a 10 or 25 pound medicine ball. Had to have it over my head. Arms extended. Couldn't bend them.
Stairway to heaven.
Couldn't rest the medicine ball on my head, and then walked on the stair stepper. Turned off, so I had to manually push it down. I remember Catlett was over there, and I'm like, Cat, come on, man, like turn this on. Like I can't move this thing. I'm 142 pounds. Like I can't move this thing. And after that was my workout. I was doing it for like a half hour. And I'm like, Zach was my roommate. Like I said, I didn't talk to Zach for a week. I'm like, dude, come on, man. I waited for you to poop. And then you didn't have to do that. I did. No.
Yeah. Yo, don't hit. Shep's punishments were brutal, man. Especially that stair. Oh my God, that stairmaster. Or he would make you come in like 5 a.m. someday and like roll in the bubble, like in the indoor, like 100 yards. Like his punishments were brutal, man.
My freshman year, Schmigdahl was a junior, I want to say, And we did whatever
Derek Schmigdahl, linebacker for those that aren't.
whatever that circuit was where it was a hit circuit. So you lifted whatever the weight was that they had set out and you rotated. Schmigdahl's curling 135 pounds. Mind you, I weigh 142 pounds. I look over, Schmigdahl's like struggling with it. And I'm like, how in the fuck am I going to lift this? I throw my entire body into it. I can't get it. I'm thinking, this is not right. They should not be having a true freshman kicker who weighs 7 pounds more than this weight, lifting the same as a fourth-year linebacker. Like, Shep, what are we doing here, man? Like, I'm going to hurt myself doing this.
It didn't matter. There was no tailoring with that. It was the weight. If the weight was on, you had to lift it. It did not matter.
Because they also tested us for like, what your strength was. What do you bench at like for pro day?
225.
225. So me and Guy are gonna 225. Neither one of us can do it. Like we try one and they're like, okay, you guys can't do one. Like, no,
do it together.
They go down to one.
Just both laying on a bench, just 4 arms pushing it up.
They go down to 185. I think Zach gets 3. I get 1. They're like, what is wrong with you guys? I was like, guys, I didn't lift in high school. Like, look at me. I have no muscle. So they go down to 135, and I do like however many. But they're like, okay, what are we doing here? I'm like, guys, I don't think you understand. Like, the weight room is not where I excel. If you can't tell. So yeah, Shep's philosophy was interesting to say the least.
Yeah, I got to McDonough was my roommate my freshman year, and he was saying like the first time that he walked in the weight room, they were like, "What's your back squat max?" He was, he's 450 or something like that. They're like, all right, you can go with that group, and they put him with a group that's got 485 on the bar. I don't think you understand what the term maximum means.
Listen, we used to do max back squat and then go out and run 40s. Like it was insane.
That makes no sense.
You remember that? Like we used to run, like we would go out and run like 40-yard dashes after heavy squatting.
I got cinder blocks attached to my quads, man. Like, what are we doing here?
Why was Iowa State not as athletic as the other teams in the field?
You wonder why we look slow every Saturday.
Hey, but everybody looked shredded. I remember getting there. And so I didn't take an official to Iowa State. I just took an unofficial visit. And, like I said, it didn't vibe with the coaches on the Chiswick staff. And then Rhodes got there. I was like, all right, I'm going to sign up with this dude. I get to fall camp. It's me and Taman Moran-Hoyne got there at the same time.
Solid guy.
That's pull. Great dude. And neither one of us had taken an official. Neither one of us knew what was going on. And we walk in, and the first person we see is Justin Rumpel's got his shirt off. Oh, dude's like a bodybuilder. Like he is built 6'2", 6'3", probably 230, body fat's maybe 5%. I'm like, all right, well, this is not the sport for me. Like, all right, okay, I'm going to just go in the bathroom and just change with the door shut. This isn't good for anybody.
This dude's biceps have biceps.
Yeah. I forgot Rumpel. Yeah, and then like the thing with Rumpel was like he was such an athletic person that he would do like a practice and then go run like 4 miles. It's like, what's wrong with you, man? Like we just killed ourselves. Why are you trying to kill yourself again?
Grew up on a farm and just had.
And now he's back. He's in Adair. He farms like thousands of acres.
Yeah.
So really?
Yeah.
Hey Rob, so I've got a kind of shifting gears here. So you're from Minnesota, back in Minnesota. Yeah. Canada. Eh? So what do they call them? Hot dishes up there?
Like tater tot casseroles?
That's right.
Hey, Juicy Lucy's, man. It's best.
So you coming out of high school, you had an offer from Minnesota and some other schools too, and obviously you chose Iowa State. What was it about Iowa State that made you? Because a lot of times, when guys have like an offer from the home state school, they 9 times out of 10 they probably choose Minnesota. So what was it about Iowa State that made you come to Iowa State?
Well, a number of things. One, the running back coach, Tony Alford. He was the running back coach there at the time on McCartney's staff, and so just like the connection I had with him, he was one that was in constant contact with me. I think I met him at the Nike camp my junior year. It was in was that Manhattan, Kansas? I think where's K-State? Manhattan, right? Yeah. So they had a Nike camp my junior year, and he had spotted me at the camp. And so he was talking to me, and we started to build that rapport there. And then 2, it was away from home. I wanted to get away from home. And so it was away from home, but it wasn't so far that like my family couldn't come see me play, or I couldn't get back on the weekends if I wanted to. And then 3 was like, he told us there was 3 freshman running backs that they had recruited. And he said, one of you are going to play right away. That's just by sheer numbers. One of you is going to have to play right away.
Who were the other 2?
Rashawn Parker's cousin, Josh Johnson. guy, you're testing my memory here now, Woody. The other guy was his name was Mitchell. We were roommates. I cannot remember his first name for the life of me. He ended up leaving. Another funny story. Middle of camp, we 2 days as freshmen, true freshmen. He took off in the middle of camp, went home to a party in Illinois, and then came back the next day like, God, you just had to go home. What? He's like, yeah, man, there was this party I couldn't miss. Bro, we're in the middle of camp. You can't
like you don't have. You can't bail like
that. He did not care. He was like, I just got to go. Like, you can't do that. But his name was Mitchell. I can't remember his first name for the life.
Harry Scott was another one. He was in your class. Harry Scott was in your class.
I cannot remember the other guy's name, but
anyway,
Mitchell. But yeah, so that was like appealing to me to be able to play right away. I wanted to prove that I could play on a big stage, right? Because I had
Mitchell Moore. Sorry,
Mitchell Moore. That was his name. Yeah, yeah. Took off in the middle. We were roommates too. It was hilarious. But in any event, that and then too, I didn't feel like I think I've shared this before, but Minnesota, my junior year, I went to their camp. And so for people that don't know, I played in the wing T, which was like old school 1980s football. You have a fullback and then 2 like wing backs on either side of the formation, 1 receiver, maybe 2. So my junior year, all through high school, I played in that. And then my junior year, I went to Minnesota for like an unofficial visit or junior day. They told me they didn't think I was a good enough running back. So I was like, what? Like,
that's a good recruiting tactic.
Yeah. I was like, no way. I was like, I just don't think you've seen like the full extent of what I can do in the system that I'm in. So my senior year, I got a different coach. And so we went to a traditional like I formation my senior year. And so I ended up breaking the single game state rushing record in my senior year in that different offense. And so then the state started to wonder, like, why doesn't this guy have an offer from the U? And so that's when they offered me. And so I kind of held a grudge from that of, well, you didn't think I was good enough. And they were like, the offer wasn't even for me to play offense. It was for me to play cornerback. Like, well, you're not going to switch me. But they're like, well, we did it with Marion Barber too, rest in peace. And they were like, he just proved us wrong in camp. And I was like, yeah, I know how that goes. I get there. You got me in there as a cornerback. You're not going to let me play offense. It was like, I'm not stupid.
You know what's funny? Sorry, dude, what's funny about that is like you remember every detail of the being slighted story. And I think if you were, Grant, do you have one of those getting slighted stories?
Yes.
Same. It's funny, just like the level of competitiveness that just lives in everybody that got to that level. And if you say the words, I don't think you're good enough. Oh, that shit is burned into your brain for the
next challenge. It's a challenge.
500 years.
So mine was my senior year. So in high school, I'm sorry, Robert, take away from here.
Yeah.
In high school, you're able to kick off of a little block for field goals. Well, college, you kick off the ground. And so college, when you were at kicking camps, colleges want to see that you can kick off the ground. A little bit of transition. And when I was at the Iowa camp, Nate Kading would go around and tell the Iowa coaches, like, yeah, this guy's no good. This guy, move on. He stinks. And so I was like just learning how to kick off the ground, maybe 2-3 weeks before. Went to the Iowa camp, and I had good kicks for the most part, but the one kick that Nate saw wasn't a good one. And he told the coach, whoever their special teams coach was, he's like, nah, not good enough. So, okay. So in my senior year, when I had a 53 40-yarder against Iowa, I wanted to go to their fans and just get them suck it.
Not good enough.
Yeah.
Classic.
Not good enough. So I guess kind of a follow-up question to that then. When in 2009, we played Minnesota in the Inside Bowl, and we obviously beat them, and you were the offensive MVP. So what did that mean to you? Were you metaphorically giving them, their coaching staff, to suck it too?
Yeah, it was a different staff at that point in time, but it's still
same thing. Same gopher.
Yeah, it's the university is still. I felt slighted by you guys. And for those who don't know, like Minnesota historically has a record of letting great in-state recruits leave. And so, especially for football, I wouldn't say so much for basketball, but for football, they definitely had a reputation of letting great ones or at least good ones leave. So that meant a lot to me. It was personal, right? Those were bragging rights for me. It's not often that you see a team multiple years in a bowl game. You're not going to play the same team, right? Multiple years. So those were bragging rights for me. And there was no way I was leaving there with the loss. And I knew a couple of guys on the other side, either guys I had played in high school or guys that I went to middle school with, and then ended up seeing and like following progress throughout high school and things like that. So that bowl game meant a lot for me. That was my first one, only one in college. And so it was like that whole season, I think I didn't want, I was tired of coming home for Christmas break and everybody else being at bowl practices and things, and like me being the one person that's home. And so it's like, if we're going, I'm damn sure not losing to Minnesota. And so it's like, I'm not, and then have to go back home and hear it from people. I'm not, there's no way I'm losing. So so that was a personal game, I would say. I think I ended up playing every snap that game too.
I believe it, because at that point, so I was redshirting, James was redshirting, Bo Blankenship, I think, had already transferred by that point to Ohio.
Because Jeremiah Schwartz was
Schwartz. Yeah, and so the eligible running backs to play, because at that point they've loosened this rule, which makes so much sense. So you can redshirt and play 4 or less games in a season, which is great. But back then, if you played a snap, your red shirt was burned. And so James couldn't play, I couldn't play, and we were getting, it was you, me, James, and Jeremiah Schwartz were the ones that were getting most of the reps-ish, I think, in bowl prep. And then, Bo left, goes to transfer. Bo Williams had kicked himself so far down the depth chart. I mean, God rest his soul. But he did not contribute much in practices. And so it was Bo and you and Jeremiah Schwartz were the only people that could play running back. And I think Coach Pope was like, nah, let him play all. He gonna take all of them.
Just take all the reps. It's like, dang, man. Yeah. That was brutal.
Man, what would I mean, this is, do you have any Coach Pope stories that come immediately to mind? Because there are so many. Were you in the play without the shoe? You were in the play without the shoe, right?
Who was it that lost their shoe? I can't remember. I was there.
We're in a scrimmage. It's fall camp, I think, and it's like full scrimmage, so it's like tackling, like full go tackling, and we're in jet tempo, which means like you're trying to get one play off as fast as you can, trying to keep the defense from substitute. We're in jet tempo. Bo Blank has been on the field for like 15 snaps in a row, like just absolutely gassed. He goes to make a cut or gets tackled or something like that, and his shoe falls off. Now, keep in mind, everybody on a football field is wearing cleats, and they're also like average 255 pounds. We talked to Darius Reynolds a couple weeks ago, a month ago, and Hayworth stepped on his foot one time and broke his foot. Imagine having Hayworth with cleats step on your foot without cleats, and what's going to happen. So Bo Blank's on there for play 15. He loses his shoe. He's dog ass dragging his way back to the lineup, and Coach Pope's, the sideline's trying to substitute somebody else in. Coach was like, no, keep him on the field. Go without the shoe. Play without the shoe. And Coach Rhodes is like, whoa, timeout. Kenny. Get somebody else in here. We don't want to break his foot. So I don't remember who. I think maybe James comes in for him, and Bo just walks over, picks up his shoe, and drags his ass to the sideline. And I think from that point forward, anytime anybody did anything and they wanted to substitute, it was like, shoe.
Oh my, yeah, Coach Pope. There's so many stories. Do you remember during fall camp when he fell asleep? So for people who don't know, fall camp is a grind. Like, you're there all day long.
6 a.m. to 9 p.m. type thing. You get a 2-hour nap in the middle.
It is a pure grind. And so, like, you practice, you watch film, you have a break, then you practice again, you watch film at night before you go home. So we're in night film, and coach is rolling the tape from the plays. And, like, normally you stop and talk about what happened and what didn't happen. All of a sudden, we're like 3 or 4 plays in, and the film is
just rolling with no comment.
And so I think I turned around, like, coach is back there just
out.
Just
arms crossed, clicker in hand, head just straight back to the ceiling.
Just knocked out. Oh my God. Yeah. So that was probably one of my favorite ones of him. And then everybody else like trying to wake people up, like, yo, coach is asleep. We gotta get out of here.
Because I mean, half of us are asleep too. Like, we're trying to stay awake. We've been there since 6:30. We had 2 practices. I mean, Bo's asleep, guaranteed. Yes. I think other Bo is probably asleep. I was barely hanging on. Equilundu probably asleep.
Sleep.
All we had for lunch was a potato. Do you guys remember that?
Listen, I like being one of the elders in the room. I sat towards the front of the screen, so when y'all turned my chair, like you couldn't tell. Like my back was to coach, so you couldn't tell if I was awake or not, unless he like called on me. And so I just remember watching the film, like this is like the 4th or 5th play. And so I turn around, and he is literally knocked out, clicker, and oh my god, that was. And then he always used to get us with the you got. So just everything was that. Oh yeah.
One of my other favorite Coach Pope things is that he would have these really long, like not metaphor things, but like I guess rolling ball of butcher knives. Like, and so Coach is from the South, so like rolling ball of butcher knives, and like something like that. And when he would get worked up, he would still use the phrase in its entirety, but it doesn't really fit an angry tone. So like, one of his favorites was, if ifs and buts were candy and nuts, what a merry, merry Christmas it would be. And he would get so worked up coaching something, and now he's just screaming now you got to get to that back. Like you say it. I mean, if ifs and nuts were candy and buts, what a merry, merry Christmas it would be. And he was screaming children's rhymes at the top of his lungs at somebody in the front of the room. And I would be like, that's such a mouthful. Coach, you have to simplify that.
Yeah, no, that was not his thing. And then the Tic Tacs too. Like everywhere he went, there was just jingling of Tic Tacs in his pocket. Like, why do we have Tic Tacs all the time? And it wasn't like he would get 1 or 2. He would like dump the pack. Like he would dump the pack.
And it wasn't just like 1 tin. Like he had like, like anybody who chews, you get like a log of chew. He was getting like a log of Tic Tacs, and like we just put those in his pocket, and he had to
3 canisters at any time.
Oh yeah, he had to go through
a sleeve. He went through a sleeve of Tic Tacs.
Oh god,
every
easily,
day, at least.
Easily.
And it was orange Tic Tacs, orange or white.
Which is
right?
the best? Orange
and white. You can be orange or white Tic Tac.
Yeah.
I also would say, I mean, this is a podcast about talking, but I use to this day, I still use this term, is if you went and wanted to talk. So Coach Pope was one of the best coaches that I've ever had at any level, because he truly cared about you as a person. And so if you wanted to talk to him about something like, struggling with my relationship with my dad or whatever, and you could go in there and he would shut everything else out and he would just talk to you about it, which is great. But sometimes you just want to go, hey coach, so I got a question. Whenever we have 3 down and there's 4 linebackers and they're kind of stacked, where does the ID need to be? If you have 1 question, you're there for 45 minutes. And so I would call it, with Coach Pope, you always needed a conversational exit strategy. So people, listeners, feel free to use this term. So conversational exit strategy is when you walk into the room, you go, Coach, I got a 9:30 class that I got to get to, and then you start the question. So you start your exit strategy. So then you can say, Coach, I got to get to class, even if it's made up. You just have to have a conversational exit strategy coming into it. So that's another Coach Pope thing. Like the good of just, he's going to talk. He's still, I'll text him or I'll talk to him on the phone. He'll still ask how my parents are doing. My dad owns a sawmill and cuts trees down. So he always asks about the lumber and stuff. But if you have that, you also have 45 minutes of a conversation that you had no idea that was going to go there. So yes, conversational exit strategy with Kenny Pope.
Yeah, but he was for sure a coach that cared about you. I still talk to him to this day. I went and visited him at Houston when they were coaching at Houston. He's retired now, but yeah, he's still one of my favorite coaches. So.
Get him on.
I think we could. Get him. I bet we could. Logistics. The problem is we were texting about
technology.
The camera. He would have it on his phone probably, and the phone would just be set down on the table with the camera facing the ceiling, and every once in a while he'd lean down and look at the camera to see himself, and then sit back down. That would be the experience we'd have with Coach Pope.
I think we need to find out.
I think we need to see what's up his nostrils. That's about what we get.
I have a nostril story for you for another time. We do it off the podcast. Or if I'm do it on here, I can't. It don't matter. So you were a part of in 2010 we beat Texas, and you had 120 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns. That was the first time Iowa State's ever beaten Texas. The first time I think you were on the squad because you got into Iowa State 2006.
Yeah. Yep.
So you were on the squad when your redshirt freshman year when Iowa State played Texas in Iowa State and lost like 56-3. Yeah. So just an ass beating, and then obviously Iowa State beat Texas.
That was a Colt McCoy year? Was that 06 or was that 05?
I think it had been like 06. No, did we play them in Texas that year?
06 was an 8.
It was Chiswick's year. It might have been Chizik's year that we played them. His first year, I think we played Texas, and that was the thumping. They had like a linebacker, Sergio McKindle or something. They had some players, man, like some players on that team. But yeah, we did get beat pretty bad by them.
So then what would you say? You had a great game. And I told Jeff when we hinted at having you on, when I think about the 2010 Texas game, I think about you scoring and then like doing this in the end zone. What did that game mean to you? Because Iowa State, coming off at that point, we were just in the Inside Bowl, but prior to that, it was a 2-10 season, and we're just dog shit. So what did it mean to you to beat Texas for the first time ever?
It meant a lot. I mean, not even just coming off a 2-10, and then I think we were 7-6 the year before. Yeah. But I don't know if you guys remember, but we had got our ass kicked for like 2 or 3 weeks. We had a gauntlet schedule that year. If not the toughest, we were like top 2, 3 toughest schedules in the nation. So we had just played Utah.
Oh God! Shaky Smithson.
Yeah, we got whooped by Utah.
God,
then we went to Oklahoma.
Yeah.
But then we went to Oklahoma, who I think was like the #1 team in the nation at the time. They spanked us like 50-something to nothing. Like it was bad. And so then to come off of that, like to deal with that adversity and then come into this game and give ourselves a chance to win in Texas. Like, I don't know if people like Texas is a historic school. Like, so to go in there and beat them in their place, like it meant a lot just because of everything that we had been through to that point in the season. I mean, you think about like my class too, right? Having the 3 different head coaches, that's brutal. And then to do it for the first time, I think the thing that stood out the most was like how together we were as a team. Yeah. Right? It was like people still had each other's backs. We were still fighting, still proud of each other, like still encouraging each other. And I think it was just a mindset that we came in there with. It was like, I don't know if they just overlooked us or thought that it was just going to be an easy win for them. But like we came and we punched them in the mouth early on. It was like, okay, they're not a very physical team, especially coming off the teams we had just played. They're not physical. It doesn't seem like they want to be here. Man, let's kick their ass and get out of here. And then when we got back, we were like the pep rally, or not a pep rally, or walking in.
We just won a national championship.
Yeah, like but to see all the fans coming out after that, right? It was just like immensely proud of everything that we had been through to that point and to stay together. I think that was the biggest thing, to stay together as a team and be like, all right, let's finish this season strong. Just because we got our ass kicked the last 2 weeks doesn't mean that we can't stick together and make this season mean something. So it meant a lot and I didn't know that was the first time we had actually beat them until we
beat them at DKR, right? Or ever?
Yeah. Ever. First time ever beating them.
I would say it's like 5-17, I think, versus Texas, and like 3 of the 5 have come in Campbell's area, like 3 of the last 4 years. I want to say.
Oh, really?
I felt like that game too in 2010. I felt like we like dominated. Like there was no question the entire game. Like we're the better team because like Lenz had that crazy touchdown. Money had that play where Arnaud dumped it off. He shook off a guy and scored. And there's just like it almost felt like we were doing whatever we wanted to do.
Yeah. It did. Like, honestly, when we got there was one drive, and I don't know when it was in the game, but it may have been like the second quarter or maybe it was the second half. But Herman called like 6 or 7 run plays in a row. And it was to the point where it wasn't even like we were going up and disguising it. It was just like we were just going left and right, the same play, like 44, 45, 44. And Arnaud is saying this, right? So it's not like they didn't know it was coming, but we just went back and forth the entire, like, and then scored. And it was just like, we're doing what we want. Like, they're just not a physical team. Like, we're imposing our will on them right now.
And I think one of the things that helped is the left tackle that year. Pretty good. So if you're Kelechi Osemele, when it was fun, like when you watch, I remember just watching film. Anytime we'd come back and watch film, it would be like you watch KO, and then I was Big Hawk. Was he there still, or is that Braden Burris was the right tackle at that point? I think. Yeah. But you had Braden and KO, and then Hayworth, Tufty, and Lamock was Lamock still there? Lamock was gone. It was
no, Lamock was there, but Alex Alvarez.
Yeah, Ocho, yeah. So like you have, but really it's like KO and Hayworth are just sitting next to each other. Those two, if you want to run somewhere, you would be able to watch film and like you'd see the linebackers point at like hey, the run play's going over here. The defensive end is getting a stance, is like shaking his head, like, God damn it. Like,
it didn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Hey, we're running right behind the 2 in 72. We're going to run right behind him. You guys good with that? Good. And that game was one of those where it's like, we're going to run right behind this dude. See ya.
Because I felt like, Arab, one of your touchdowns, it got called short. I think it got reviewed maybe.
Yeah.
Like, no, just run the same play. And then we ran that same play.
Yeah. We did it. Well, they called it short. It wasn't. And they refused to review it. And like Rhodes was like, let's just go. Let's go. And like, I was mad about that too. I think that's the one where I threw my hands up. Cause like I ran over, like, I don't say I ran over at 185, but I ran through their safety.
You did.
Like scored and like threw my hands up thinking they're going to call it. And they like, nope, set it short. And it's like, okay, now that
was a long drive. I feel like it was just a sustained, like I said, kind of do whatever you want to do. Just pick up 4 yards every time, first down. The defense was gassed, and
that was the thing. Like they just could not stop the run. I think like their safety was supposed to be known as a hitter, if I'm not mistaken. Like he was.
I can't remember his name.
Yeah, I can't either. But I remember his number. It was 21, and I remember like him and Woody met like on a 4th down or a 3rd and short. Woody just like ran him over. It was like just dragging him backwards. It's like.
That's me.
They just didn't want to be there. Like they
all 20 years old of 230-pound white kid from Central Iowa. How's that for your 5-star?
Corn fed.
There was no like, it was just like straight downhill. And it was like, you guys just can't stop us. I remember, and it's still kind of true. So back to, a Coach Pope thing kind of tying in this game. I remember before that game, we were in meeting. It was either in meetings or it was like on the bus or like in the hotel. It was sometime before the game, kind of like getting your mind right for it. And I remember him, and he went to OU. So like he's got a deep-seated hatred of Texas. And he coached at TCU, he coached at Texas A&M, he coached at SMU. He has a deep-seated hatred for Texas. And he's from Texas. And he would say that they were T-Sipper fans. And
say that again?
T-Sipper fans, meaning, yes, indeed, good, success, that's good, good job. Oh. But if you start proving that team isn't worthy of the yes, indeed, good job. If you start proving that that's not the case, they'll boo their team louder than they cheer. Like they'll boo themselves louder than they cheer against you. And so I remember that was one of those things that at least I was, of sort of like, if we can show them, if I can headbutt you in the face, and then instead of coming back, you start to wipe your nose, we're going to get your fans to boo you out of this stadium. And so I remember that kind of happened where like, because it was Garrett Gilbert, was that the quarterback, or was that the next time we beat him down there? But anyway, it was either way, like they would get a sack or they'd have a turnover and the fans would like actively boo. And it was like, yes, we did it. We turned the T-Sippers into a booing fan.
And that stadium was packed, man. I think it holds what, 75, 80?
Oh, 110. 110. 110,000 at DKR.
Oh, well, it was packed. I remember that. And it was the thing for like me too, is it was October, I think, or so. We played them and it was like 75 degrees. It's like, yo, this is perfect. Like back home in Iowa, it's 40 something degrees. We're 75. Oh, we could play all day. Like it was perfect. Perfect.
It was Garrett Gilbert, and it was in October. Good memories, guys.
Yeah. It was perfect, man. 75 degrees. But what else you guys got?
I want to ask you just kind of some of your, what are some of your favorite memories? Either let's do good and bad from Iowa State. What are some of your highlight games, and maybe some of the games you're like, ooh, that game sucked.
Ooh, what game really sucked? And it'll always stand out to me because I think our season changed on it. The Nebraska game, 2010.
Oh, the failed 2-point conversion.
Yeah, that will always stick. They were like number 7 in the nation. I think we had
a
chance.
It was their last year.
Dominican Sue and Jared Crick where Sue wasn't there. Crick was there.
Yeah, that game stands out to me because it was their last year in the Big 12. I think if we had beat them, we would have been up for the North still. Like we had controlled our own destiny to the Big 12 championship. So that one really stands out as like a bad. I don't know why I'm going bad first, but like 2009 Iowa, that drubbing we took at home. It's like 35-3 or something like that. That one was terrible. That one stands out. Favorite ones, obviously the bowl game. Colorado in 2009, when we beat them to become bowl eligible, I think is another one that stands out. And like the fans just storming the field.
I got carried off the field that game.
Did you really?
By one old woman picked you up and just walked you around.
One old woman. That definitely stands out to me. And I think the very first time I started playing really stands out to me. It was like Missouri, my redshirt freshman year. So people don't know, like I started my first game in college. Like,
oh damn.
Yeah, I started like I redshirted my first year, but then you go back. We played like Kent State or somebody, and I started
the Julian Edelman game.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And so was it Julian?
Well, what year would that have been?
It would have been 2007.
07 would be Edelman. Because we played him at Kent State, and I think Iowa State at that point had like one of the nation's longest losing
road streaks.
And we beat them. And Kent State, they had like 2,000 fans there. I was like, what is this JV?
High school football. Friday or Saturday? What do we think?
It's brutal. Yeah, 2007 would have been, I think Julian Edelman would have been the quarterback.
Edelman would, he would have been. But I started that game as a redshirt freshman. Then I got hurt. Like I was dealing with like a hip issue or something from camp. Dude, like hit me in the back on one carry, just blasted me. I think his helmet right to my back. And I'm like, how do people play whole games? I am hurting. Oh, it was bad, man. But yeah, if you go back and look at that, like I did actually start that very first game. And then I got benched for several games after that. But that Missouri game, stands out to me. That was my first touchdown. I told my mom and them not to come down. I was like, it's like Missouri, I don't know, it's like a 10-hour drive from home in Minneapolis. I was like, I don't want you guys driving down and then driving back. It was like, no, in the middle of the night, I was like, no, I don't want you to do that. But ended up scoring my first touchdown playing. So those stand out. But more than anything, I think like to me stands out is like the camaraderie, right? Like the locker room, the jokes and stuff that you have, seeing people in the cafeteria, because we didn't have anything like they have now, which I am super happy for them to have like one facility where they can do everything and all the resources that they have now. But yeah, the camaraderie, the locker room for sure, all the jokes. Bo Will's locker room was actually, our locker was right next to mine. I'm trying to think.
Yeah,
who
same.
else
It was you, me, and because I was 32, you were 33, and Bo Will's 34. We were right next to each other.
Yeah, right, all right in that section. Yeah, so like the locker room stuff is definitely some of the stuff I miss the most. Like just building that camaraderie with people.
Do you guys want to give any Bo Will stories? Rest in peace.
But just one thing before we get to Bo Will, I'm pretty sure I still have a pair of your shorts that got put in my locker by accident. There's a 33 on them, and I can give them back to you. But
yeah, I would appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, you're going on like 16 years of having these shorts, so I think I might just keep them. There's
isn't that like common law or what was the property like?
I got squatters' rights on these.
Yeah, squatters' rights. So yeah, Bo Will stories, man. I got some funny ones. I won't go the negative. There was a play that really stands out to me when I think about him. I don't know if you guys remember this or not. I think it was like 2009.
Texas A&M.
Are you talking about A&M?
Yes, I
know exactly what you're
talking about. Like I subs out, he comes in, and I'm like, all right, Bo, just don't mess up. I need a break. I'm tired. Don't mess up. Like, I got you. Bo gets a carry. I think it was like 40. It was
inside zone to the right.
Yeah. He breaks out of the pack down the right sideline. It's gone. I'm like, oh, Bo's about to score. This is good. This is amazing. Like Bo, he gets tackled out inside the 5 or whatever. Very next play, we run like 360. He runs right towards the center when he's supposed to go to the end, and Coach Pope just turns and looks. Go get his ass. I'm like, no, why didn't he just score on his run? Like, but yeah, Bo has some. There's a lot of stories I won't tell, but Bo had some. Bo was a funny, like he brought light to the room. Like he was. Yeah. It was always like comedy with Bo. So
I just anytime I'm a white kid from Central Iowa, and so one of the things that was fun is I was like the white guy in the room, and so it was me and Tyler Leo or me and Brad Adams. Like that was it. Bo Blank. Like it was like there's 2 of us, but it was always like freestyling would happen all the time. And Bo Will was not good at it, and he would always start it the same. Do you remember his starting lines?
I do not, but I know he always used to try it.
Yeah, they call me Bo Will and I tote the pill. Y'all know the deal. And then he would run out of lines after that and just start, I'll tote the pill. Y'all know the deal. And you know I'm real. And I tote the pill. And just like would do that. And at a certain point, it kind of loses its muster, but he would still confidently say the same about 4 or 5 lines for longer than anybody would hold whatever the mic or the center of it for. But like you were just dying laughing the entire time with Bo Will, toe to peel, y'all know the deal, and I keep it real. Like the same thing every single time.
That's great. Probably thinks just spitting fire too.
Yeah.
I got no for you guys here.
Yeah, he was for people who didn't know Bo Will, just like complete Southern guy, dreads, gold teeth. Like Bo was a character, man. I like Bo. Bo is a character. So
he was when you know a lot of Florida guys will say from the crib.
Yeah.
Bo was from the crib.
He was from the crib, very much from the crib. Yeah, he would. The funny thing, just another one was like, and we sort of said this before. So Coach Pope would fall asleep, and we fell asleep one time in meetings. Bo Will fell asleep every day in meetings, every day. And so because he was 1 grade below you, I think. Yeah. So like in the order of the room, like it's a conference table, and so Coach Pope would sit kind of at the head of the table. The screen is on the other side of the table. It's me and who was it? James. I think James and I were sitting kind of opposite each other, closest to Coach Pope, or like nearest to Coach Pope, maybe 1 seat above. Jeremiah Schwartz would sit closest to the door. So as Coach Pope's sitting looking at the screen, Schwartz would be 2 seats up on the left. You would be like the very front seat in the right with a footrest, because you would sit 1 seat back. So you'd kick 1 foot, one chair over, so you could put your feet up on the chair, recline in these big comfy office chairs. And Bo Will would sit in the like right across from you. So like the very front left. Well, you were talking earlier how you could, like, when you turn this big office chair, that's like the kind of office chairs that even when you're sitting like fully upright, they're still like 5 inches above your head. So it's fully blocked out from behind. So Bo Will's looking at the screen, which is the opposite way of Coach Pope, and he got his feet up on the chair, same thing you did, but he'd pass out every day. And when you're watching film, you know, coach is going to, especially during like install time, so like fall camp or whatever, and he would go, you can just kind of random pop question, like the Socratic method. Hey, what do you got on 66 here? And then you have to, you know, point, hey, ID number 44, and I'm going to look to the play side and, you know, whatever. And there's usually like running back pass protection isn't that complex. Like there's like 3 calls and then flip it both sides. So you have like a 1 in 6 chance of getting it right if you just pulled a number out of a hat. So Bo Will developed a system where he would fall asleep and then he would just have, I don't know how he had like a 2nd sense or a 6th sense to like just know when he was asked a question, even if he was totally asleep. So he's sitting back there, you know, arms crossed, passed out, and coach be like, "Hey, Bo, what you got on 66 here?" You're like, on 360, I wipe his snot off his nose. I got the right off tackle. Not what you got on 66? And then he would answer the question. Coach Pope just breezed on by it, and then next play, 2 plays later, he's asleep. Like it is immaculate how quickly he could go back to sleep.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, that meeting room was like, it was pure comedy.
I think that's my favorite part of, like, that's the thing, is that like that room the most is,
yeah,
half the time the coach is just talking bullshitting with Coach Pope about nothing, like barbecuing. Like that's what you're talking with Coach Pope about.
And we had the coaches conference room too. So I don't, like, everybody else had meeting rooms, and for some reason we didn't have meeting rooms. So we're in this big coaches conference room. Like Woody said, you got these tall, comfortable leather chairs. Oh man, during camp it was fabulous. It was fabulous during camp, but you know, other times it was not so great in there, because when you get yelled at, Coach Rhodes' office is right across the hall, so he can come over like, "Who messed up? What'd you do wrong?" Like, oh man.
Would have been nice to be in meeting rooms.
Yeah, well, you got to just drop stuff in the sand in Rhodes' office.
Yeah, we did, and then just go to the locker room and take a nap.
And we just take a nap in the meeting room. One, I did want to ask. So you had a cup of coffee, a couple cups of coffee in the NFL. Is Jared Allen as crazy in person as I think he would be?
No, Allen was actually pretty cool, man. He was actually a really cool guy. He wasn't crazy, but he just, how do you describe it? Just a guy that enjoyed playing the game, right? Like he had immense joy in like playing the game. So no, he wasn't crazy. He wasn't, I don't think like people thought like he was kind of weird or crazy, like insane a bit, but he wasn't like that. He was a very like chill guy, in my opinion. So, you know who was crazy though? Maybe not actually. No. Well, Everson Griffin.
Oh,
if you guys remember the DN from USC. He was like 97. He played here for the Vikings. He was just insane, like just one of those guys, like high motor. Like what's his name in Vegas now? Is it Crosby?
Yeah, Max Crosby.
Yeah. Very similar. Just insane. Didn't get tired. Just high motor. Just wild. Like would run through a brick wall if he like needed to. Like insane.
You also played with a guy by the name of Adrian Peterson, right?
Yeah.
What was that like?
Insane. I don't know how you describe it. You know how they say like athletes just have a different mentality, right? He was one of those guys that was just different mentality. Even in like his notebook and the things that he like believed and thought, he would write like, I'm the best, or this, that, nobody can stop. Like he would write that in his notebook, and it was just like seeping in, and like the mentality of him was entirely different. And then you get to like the physical traits of him and being able to run all day. And like I've never like, what do you know what a jump cut is, right?
Yeah, jump cut. So for the listener, it's a jump cut. So let's say I'm running at the back of the left guard. A jump cut means both feet go into the ground, and I jump sideways to go to the center instead of the guard, versus like a regular cut is I put one foot in the ground and kind of redirect it like a 45-degree angle. It just takes my line, and I go straight line, boop, sideways, straight line again.
Yeah, it's like 90 degrees, right? Like it's 90 degrees. I've never seen someone jump cut as far as AP jump cut. Like he was running, I don't know if it was like an ISO or what, and he just jumped literally from behind the center, damn near to outside the tackle. And it wasn't like both feet stopped. It was just he went up there 1 foot and like explosive. Like I've never seen anybody that explosive in my life, and just a motor. His work ethic was insane. So we would go have a full practice in camp. And then I remember I was at my locker one day, and I was like, he came back in and he was sweating. It's AP, right? So he didn't take a lot of practice reps. So he came back in and he was like sweating. And I'm like, man, what'd you just do? He's like, oh, I just ran 3 miles on the treadmill. I said, you what? Bro, we just had practice. He said, yeah, I just, some extra cardio. Extra cardio. I was like, all right, man, what'd you do so I could try it? He was like, yeah, the first however many laps, I just ran it like 8.0 on the thing. I said, 8.0 on the treadmill. He was like, then the next one I bumped it up to 10 and ran that for a couple laps. I said, I'm glad you had a good workout.
That's a 6-minute mile pace for a couple laps.
Listen, he's just
after practice.
He's a different breed, man. He is a different breed. Explosive, like just works. I never played with T.O., but that's who he reminds me of. Like that work ethic and the drive and like keeping yourself in peak condition. That was him to a T. I think that wasn't the year he came off the ACL injury. He injured his ACL the year I got cut. And the next year he came back and ran for the single season record, like 2,000 some yards. So he watching, I mean, just as a fan, I mean, obviously didn't play with him. He was one of the most fun guys to watch just because you talk about running violently. Like Isaiah Pacheco gets that like now gets like, he runs like he's mad at the ground. No. Isaiah Pacheco is in a decent mood compared to Adrian Peterson's mood towards the ground. So if you're like, for those that forgot how good AP was, just like YouTube Adrian Peterson highlights, because it is unreal. And somebody, I can't remember who it was. I think it was Troy Polamalu who said he was the most dangerous person you'd ever meet in like the open field. Because he would run through you, he would run around you, or he would just flat out outrun you. Like you just didn't know what mood he was in. And if he was like, and you think back to that, he was like that. He would run over people, he would make you miss, or he would just flat out outrun you. He was that like talented.
Did he do that in practice, like just regular drills kind of stuff? Or did he tone it back?
No, you couldn't touch AP. Like, are you serious? You think they were going to let people touch AP in practice? No, you couldn't touch AP. What? No, there's no way. Like, normally we thud up, right? Like, no, you weren't thudding up AP. You stay off AP. You maybe
the entire economic value of Minneapolis is tied up in these two legs.
Yeah, like you don't touch AP when you don't do that. But it also had super smart guy and super cool. Toby Gerhart was in that room.
God bless Toby Gerhart.
Yeah, I like Toby,
you get it.
A lot.
He's one of the chairman of the board of one of the
yeah.
Chris McCaffrey's our
UCLA
president.
has one too, though, right? Didn't they last year? They had
Mizzou does.
No, not Mizzou.
Iowa State's got one.
Carson Hansen.
Yeah,
From Minnesota.
Oh, yeah, from Lakeville.
Gatorade Player of the Year.
Was he really?
Two times,
yeah. So yeah, that's a Toby Gerhardt.
He's a big dude too. Carson Hansen's like 6'2", I want to say.
I think 6'2", 220.
6'2".
Sheesh.
We
Is he gonna play running back again, or are they going to move him?
I think he will. My guess is this upcoming running back room. It's actually really fun. Like if
stacked.
Just so Sama, the kid from Polk, he's going to be probably your if there's 100% of the snaps, he's probably going to take 60% of them. Most kind of be your first and second down back, and also if he gets in a groove, he's just going to be on the field the whole time because he's strong, he's fast. I mean, I don't know if you know this. He has the state record, the state all class record. So Drake Relays is every 1A, 2A, 5A, whatever. He has the Drake Relays record for long jump. So he has the longest long jump in the history of Iowa track and field. So I mean, it's like 26, something like that feet. When Southeast Polk built their new stadium, he was there, and they had to elongate the plan for the long jump pit to accommodate his jumps. So like he is that much of a freak athlete. So Sama's going to probably get 60% of the snaps. I would bet Hansen's probably like 30 to 35% of the next, and there's going to be like a smattering of the other people.
Well, Hansen also sees quite a bit of time at like slot receiver.
Yeah, so he'll have a lot of the roles, whether it's third down or you have two running back packages where he's going to be he can be a wing or a slot or something like that because he's really good in the open field. And I would bet by the time halfway through the season's done, if they want to protect Jalen Knoll, I bet Hansen's going to be a kick returner or a punt returner. Could be. I mean, there's no insider information, fans. This is just me speculating. But I think Hansen could be used as like kick returner, punt returner, just to get him in the open field and let him run. So,
and we also have a true freshman who is already on campus from Arizona, Dylan Lee, who was an Army All-American guy. Showed out in the spring game, which the spring game was, whatever. It's a glorified scrimmage. But he's also
Hansen and Sama didn't play.
Yeah. He's Dylan Lee's a real deal, though. True freshman kid.
Yeah,
so
running back room is strong.
Yeah, it'll be those three.
I don't know who's wearing 33, though.
I don't know.
They didn't retire it?
Man, they didn't retire mine. They didn't retire 32, and then it got instantly bested. And now anybody that wears 32 is wearing David Montgomery. And I'm like, I thought I had it. Fred has 32. So I got secondhand from Fred. And then Montgomery steal. So I'm like at best, the third best 32 at the very, very peak. And there's probably several others that I'm even slotting. I'm like the sixth best 32.
33 is Jack Sadowski, he was a true freshman last year.
Yeah.
Yep. So
starting Mike linebacker.
Yeah. So Mike Rowe starts as a true freshman. Jack Sadowski starts as a true freshman. So 33 carries on.
Oh, well, I like it. Good
enough.
Holy smokes, man. I've been gone for so long. I was thinking about this. I graduated in 2010.
14 years.
2024.
Yeah. We had this text conversation. So you, me, Spears, and Arnaud have a text conversation that it's fairly active during football season. And I just was randomly driving home one day, and Darius Darks was a teammate of ours who had 4 kids before he got to Iowa State. So he was a year older than me. So he'd have been 2 years younger or 1 year younger than you. He had 4 kids in high school. That would have been by the time he got to college. So that would have been in 2007. So
he was in my class.
2008. So 2008. So that means at the earliest or at the latest, his fourth, and all 4 boys, his 4th son would have been born in 2008. It's 2024. That means that kid's 16. So all 4 of his sons are either in college, preparing to be in college. I'm like, that's weird.
Yeah, you did say that the other day.
That's weird, man.
How old are we? You guys see all my grays, my wisdom hairs? I call them wisdom hairs.
Man, you still got some, though.
The last thing I got for you, Rob, is obviously 2009 was a wild game. We played Nebraska, beat Nebraska. Arnaud, you, and Lamock were all out. Taryn Benton, I think, broke his leg in the first half. I don't think I really remember. You weren't hurt, were you?
I was. That was the year I messed up my groin that year.
Okay.
And they held me out of that game to try to give it some extra time to rest. And I think it was because Arnaud was out.
Okay.
Otherwise, I think I would have ended up playing. But
I can remember if you got sick, because I remember Lamock was puking on the sideline, puking at halftime. I had 2 field goal and 1 PAT attempt. Dominican Sue blocked 1 field goal attempt, 1 PAT. It was both times that Lamock wasn't in there. And he's a big Mama Gemma.
He's a freak. Talk about freak. Dominican Sue. He ran down Josh Lenz on a screen.
Yeah.
I remember that.
So I can remember if you if you had gotten sick too, or if you were hurt, I couldn't remember.
I wasn't sick, but like half the team was sick from what I remember. It was like that Rhodes' post game speech made it to like Sports Center or something, didn't it? Yeah, because it was like a 9-7 game or something like that.
8 turnovers.
Yeah, for Nebraska. But yeah, no, I was out that game. I do remember it though, because it's like trying to get in Jeremiah's ear and like keep him engaged in the game and coach him up. And different guys react to coaching different ways. Yeah. And Jeremiah wasn't a guy that you really like yelled at, right? Like you had to coach him up. And so trying to take on some of that in that game. So yeah, that was an insane one in Lincoln.
First time like 1970 or something, 30 some years.
Yeah, that was an insane game. Yeah, that was.
It was good fans too. Afterwards, like, hey, good job, guys.
Why are you guys so nice?
Come on, now.
Good football.
Here's a care package.
What the? We're taking the bus back. Don't worry, keep it. So
I feel like BYU has replaced Nebraska with a nice fan base. They make brownies and they give them out to the fans. Yeah.
Wait, what?
At the games in Provo, the fans make brownies and just pass them out to the opposing fans.
Like laced or something, or what's going on?
That is a Mormon school. They can't even have caffeine. It is just pure sweetness and kindness.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, no. Yeah, no. Something's wrong. You're too nice.
Too nice. Settle down. I want some shit talks.
Yeah.
That's all Matt for the Rob. I appreciate the time, man. I know we've taken over an hour of your time, so I appreciate jumping on with us.
Is the Fed going to lower interest rates anytime soon? I'm blaming you, by the way.
If I knew and I told you, I'd get fired. But I don't know. I mean, I hope so. Like people like that. What's funny about this is, so we had this thing called Open Doors Minneapolis this weekend, right? So we open our doors.
A-Rob works for Federal Reserve in Minneapolis, by the way. Just that's where that comes from.
And so we open the doors to everybody, the public. They can come in, learn about what we do, because there's a lot of misconception about what we actually do. And so people coming in is like, yeah, the rates are killing me. They're way too high. And like, are you guys ever going to bring them down? I'm like, I don't think you guys realize, like, I live in this too. Like, it's not like I get some unreasonable salary, or like I get a bump when rates go up. No, like my salary stays the same too. Like,
I get the employee discount.
Yeah, you get the black market interest rates.
I don't. Yeah, like I don't know what interest rates you guys think I'm getting that you're not getting, or prices that I'm getting at the grocery store. Like it hits me the same too. Like I have, it hits the same effect for me as it hits for you guys. Like I would love for them to come back down, but I'll tell you this, man. People need to stop spending. Like people are spending out of control right now. And credit card debt, like people are racking it up on their credit card debt. I think I was reading an article today that like they call it a vibe session. Like people are living this YOLO life of, the pandemic ruined everything. Why wait? Why save? I'm just going to do it now. And like people are just racking up debt, man. So like you want rates to come down, stop spending.
Dude, I am literally saving the bees so I can sling honey, so they can pollinate my garden, so I can pick from my garden, have salads from my garden.
It's the only reason.
I'm gonna can. I've got
growing a beard,
cow and a goat on the way, so I can make milk and cheese and have meat.
Yeah, man. It is
live off the land.
Yeah, it is. I will say this though, for people that don't, because I had no clue I don't say no clue what the Fed did, but if you just research the Federal Reserve, it has been so good for me to be around like people that are like super intelligent and passionate about things, right? Like it is the economists and what they study. Man, people have just so many different passions there. And like the quantitative people, like I don't know if people, like the people are just like purely numbers and statistics driven, insanely intelligent, like insane. It's insane being around them, and like some of the coders and people, it's just next level. Some of the stuff that people do. So it's not me. I will tell you guys that is not my forte.
I still blame you. If interest rates are high, Alexander Robinson.
So
we'll put his phone number in the notes.
Just go ahead and give me a call. I'll block your number.
All right, Rob. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you guys having me on. We'll be catching up with you guys too.
Yeah,
you too, man.
So, who had monetary policy on their bingo card for an interview on Kickin' It? Anybody? Aiden? Bingo.
I had that on my early card, thinking we were going to talk about that with Steel, but it did not. Didn't know we had to wait for A-Rob.
We're gonna talk monetary policy. We thought, should we do it with AJ? Maybe AJ would be a good time. Should we, Steel? There we go. That was fun.
That was fun. Just a solid dude. I haven't talked to him since we graduated. Well, I take that back. I saw him last year at the game, but prior to that, I talked to him.
Yeah, we have. He's one of the guys that I actually do keep in touch with. So it's like A-Rob, Spears, Arnaud. It's pretty active as far as like conversation goes, and I will get into deep dork shit with A-Rob, and
You
just
say
like
dork or dark?
Dork, ORK, and just about like, hey, interest rates or credit card usage, whatever. Just like looking at just different stuff, and one of the smartest, nicest people that you'll ever find. So thanks to A-Rob coming on.
Yeah, that was really great. I think our guest next week will be fun too. We talked about this guest in this interview, so
It ain't gonna change.
Ain't gonna change. So yeah, like I said, this next guest, wonderful man. Aside from the fact he about made me shit my pants, other than that, wonderful man. That's all I got. Jeff, got anything else?
Nope.
All right. Thank you to all of our loyal listeners who are still listening. And as always, remember, adopt, don't shop.